And I'm Mike.
Welcome.
What's going on over there?
It's okay. I'm just trying to figure out my microphone.
First
My
time using first time
microphone.
using a mic.
Yeah, sorry. First day. Okay. Anyways, welcome to True Crime Thursdays. I
Feel like we need a theme song for that, or we
don't
need to
know.
use the sound from what is that? What's that show?
True crime can be a little heavy sometimes. So I feel
Yeah,
like
true. Theme song not
a
appropriate.
theme song might be a little unless we figure out
Some week we have to
news
do it.
dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like something like you know.
Like a
one
breaking news
one
alert type
week we'll
thing.
have to do a as an alternative a stupid criminals version though. That would be fun.
Oh, that would be
You know,
interesting. Stupid
stories about
criminals.
people getting stuck in the chimney because they're trying to go down the chimney to rob a house or that kind of thing.
Does that
But
happen?
that's not
That's
this
crazy.
week. That does
Yeah,
happen.
that's not what we're.
People get stuck in ceilings too. It's wild.
That's crazy. Um, well, I would say the person that we're discussing today is kind of a stupid criminal as well.
That's very true.
But so today we're gonna be discussing the Idaho 4 murders that happened in 2022, November 2022. With the 4 college students. And it was really a big story pretty much right when it happened, from what I
Yeah.
remember. And then the trial recently finally went all the way through. And
Well,
um,
I
what?
now we'll get into the story and then I can ask my question because I didn't think there was a trial, but let's.
Yeah, yeah, there was a trial 2025, I'm pretty sure is when
Oh,
his trial was. He hasn't
yeah.
even
I thought
been
he
in
just
jail.
pled. I was under the impression he pled guilty.
I think he
Anyway,
took a plea
let's.
deal.
Yeah,
Um, but he has he's in jail for a the rest of
yeah,
his life for
yeah.
sure. And yeah, we'll get into how he's
Spoiler
doing.
alert.
We'll get into how he's doing. Yeah, because it's not well. So well, okay, so while I was reading the up on a bunch of this stuff, and I was trying to read about the timeline to this, I started reading about he was kind of um he had some weird habits, and he's always kind of been, I guess, a weird guy. So he worked at a university, and I found out that like a little weird side story that he had met this I guess it was a coworker of his. Her name was Nayeon Ko, and yeah, she worked closely with Brian, and I guess she was from a different country, so she didn't have too many friends here in general, and
Hmm.
they became close. They also lived in the same apartment building, and about 2 months before the murders happened, um, September September 10th, 2022, which was, I guess, a little over 2 months before the murders happened, her apartment was broken into. And because, it spooked her out, she called Brian, but it wasn't like a noticeable break-in. And, this is all, what she said, so,
Right.
but it wasn't a noticeable break-in where, her door was kicked down and things were everywhere in her apartment. It was a lot more weirdly psychological than that. So before she had left that day, she had baked a cake, I guess. And she said that she burnt the cake, she messed it up, but she was in a rush, so she just left the cake out on her stovetop. When she came back later that day, the cake was in the microwave, which she wouldn't have done that. She was about to throw it out. She would never just have put it in the microwave. So then she went into her bathroom. Her makeup was all of the makeup that she owned was neatly lined up on the back of her toilet. like weird things that you didn't do yourself,
Right.
but you also so the reason she never ended up calling the police about it, because I guess to her, she in her head she's like, this doesn't look like an obvious break-in, and even if I call the police about this, they're probably not going to do anything. They're just going to be
Right.
like, oh well, you could have, are you sure you didn't leave your makeup lined on the back of the toilet?
Right.
I guess she has specific shelves that she puts her makeup on. So again, she knows she would never line her makeup up. I don't think any woman I know would line their makeup up on the back of the toilet. Um,
Yeah, I
and
mean, it seems like in best case they'd write a police report and that would be the end of it. So
just to have it on record, yeah.
what's gonna happen anyway?
Right. So then she starts looking around her apartment to see anything else out of place, notices her watch that she wears almost every day is missing, and also a personal letter that she had that she got. So her letter was missing, and yeah, she calls her, instead of calling the police, she just calls her BFF Brian next door, pretty much. He's in the same apartment complex, and tells him the whole story. He says, okay, you can come and stay at my house. Red flag, anyways. I would never do that. But, she goes to his
Right.
house, and then shortly after, she also ended up buying a pretty high tech security system for her apartment. And, once again, has her bestie, Brian, hook it up for her, which she later realizes, especially after the trial, well, not after the trial, but after the news came out about him, she wondered if when he set up her security camera, if he like saved the login and stuff even on his phone.
Right.
Because she obviously assumes it was him who went in her house. She believes this
Right.
because they shared an office. They worked together, and they shared an office. A few days before her, I think 2 days before her house got broken into, she kept a spare apartment key in her desk at work. It was missing. Nobody knew where it
Well,
was. He said he didn't know where it was, and then mysteriously, it appears back into her desk
yeah, that makes
where
no
she
sense.
looked a million times. So that happened about a little over 2 months before the murders. And what's interesting about that is that a lot of times they say that serial killers are just, you know, premeditated murderers in general. They always, like, a lot of times scope out, um, or have, I guess, like a trial run on certain situations just to see how far they can go, and kind of
Right.
test their own comfortability. So I fully believe, I don't think he ever planned on probably doing anything to that girl, but I definitely think he did it to, like, test the
Yeah.
waters on just breaking into somebody's house in general. And
Right.
yeah, so yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit that I read up on.
So, sorry,
So a lot of the timeline that I was finding for this case, it has to do with what was recovered off of Brian's phone. Which, okay, just little sidebar. I think, especially researching this whole case, it's just, and really, like any of the cases that I listen to personally or that you see on the news, it's just so crazy to me that, like, people just don't understand digital footprint.
right.
Attention, everyone listening. You can't erase things on a computer. You can't erase things on your phone. If you want to, I mean, I'm not even going to give any ideas, actually. I was going to
Right.
say, if you're trying
Yeah,
to
don't.
erase something on your phone,
Let's
throw it
not
in the
give
ocean.
advice. Let's not give
But
advice
even
to bad people.
But even then, like, okay, take your phone and chuck it in the ocean if you want. They can still go to your internet provider and see your pings of where you've been, and
Right.
it's so traceable. Like,
Right.
you can't get rid of you deleting your history. I mean, shoot, I found that out when I was in middle school, that you can't just delete your history on your
Sure.
computer.
Yep.
Like, I don't
Yeah, it's always
understand.
there. I mean, people
It's
still haven't learned that with what they put on the internet, though, too. So there we are.
digital footprint, guys.
Yeah. Also, though,
2026.
also though, if you're having thoughts about doing something bad, go talk to Jesus. Like that's
There
that's
you
a
go.
better idea than
The thing is,
making sure
like,
you don't search on the internet.
well, so, I mean, the issue, though, is that a lot of these, I mean, we're such a tech dependent, I would say, just nation that, I mean, yeah, you just got to be completely off the grid to, like, not have some kind of footprint. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of the timeline that was found out on Brian was received through his cell phone.
Wow.
Um, Starting back in July 2022. So, mind you, this happened on November 13th, 2022. Well, November 12th at night into the early mornings of November
Right.
13th, 2022. So, back in July 2022, his phone pinged at the tower that was closest to the King Road home. The King Road home is where all of the roommates lived.
Right.
So, clearly, premeditation,
Right.
just based off of what were you doing there in July 2022. His
Right.
home, by the way, was not close enough to this house where it made sense for him to be over there. He had no reason to be over there, period,
Right.
aside from that house. So he was pinged over there in July 2022. On August 16th, he made a Google search on Ted Bundy. After Googling him, he also continued reading into things, including other articles that were written about Ted Bundy, and he almost became kind of obsessed. And
One of the things I found that was interesting to me about that too, sort of
mhm,
related, is
yeah,
that he was actually attending Washington State University, which
hmm
was in Moscow, or it was 8 miles north of 8 miles away from the University of Idaho in Moscow. It was,
hmm
um, and he was going for a PhD in criminology. So he was like literally
fully in
studying
it.
criminology, which is
Yeah, right. And
it's
he also, like, it said that he developed almost like a, not even just the obsession of Ted Bundy, but like just an obsession overall of like serial killers.
right,
And okay, obviously, we've all like I watch true crime stuff. Like, that doesn't mean I'm trying to go
right,
out there and replicate anything.
hmm
And a lot of the searches too, cuz even him searching on Ted Bundy, it was kind of murky water on, okay, is he doing this because he admires him, or is he doing it because, is he searching Ted Bundy because it's for a project? Is he
right,
searching things
because
about these serial killers because of a project? Because it could
right, because
be.
he was going for a PhD in criminology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my question would be, did he become obsessed with those things because of the studies in criminology? Did it somehow trigger something in his brain and he became obsessed? Or was he studying criminology in the first place because he was already obsessed with that stuff?
Yeah, because a lot of people were also saying that they think that he was just yeah, yeah, I guess kind of that, like, he was so obsessed with it and studying all of that stuff, and a big reason they think why he even wanted to go through the experience of like killing somebody was because he just was so engulfed in like the mind of a killer
Mm-hmm.
that he wanted to like become that. Because,
Yeah.
and not to jump ahead, but he even afterwards, a lot of his he kept googling himself, and he kept I have it in my notes somewhere, like I think he googled it. It said he googled himself like 23 times or something like that after the murder happened, like,
After.
or
But
before
was
the
that
murder happened, before the murder
before?
happened.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's just narcissism.
Yeah.
Also, I Google myself, but let's not go there.
Yeah, but he didn't Google himself in the way of like, yeah, okay, we all Google ourselves once in a while, but, you know, uh, oh yeah, yeah. Um, this was in October. Over the span of 13 days, he Googled his own name multiple times. Like, okay, we've
Yeah,
all
that's
Googled our
strange.
name just to like, oh, let me just see what comes up.
Yeah.
But not over the course of 13 days, just constantly Googling myself.
Yeah, that's
And then
strange.
even like after after the murder, the murders, they there was this, I think it was a Facebook group, and someone anonymous who they believe was him, um kept asking just weird questions in the chat, like, yeah, very narcissistic based, like, oh, hey, why do you think he did this, what do you think,
Oh
like, just
wow.
very weird and specific.
Yeah.
So it was almost like, yeah, he's not even just obsessed with like the mind of a serial killer. He's so obsessed that he wanted to like go through with the whole thing to see, I don't know what the hype was about or whatever. Um so on September 30th, Brian Googled sociopathic traits in college students. Um, Again, that could be a part of a homework assignment,
Right.
or, he was trying to self diagnose himself. A lot of people think as well, because he'd also post on public forums, um, just like different things that he was going through, like, you know, mentally, I guess, which is
Right.
kind of interesting. Then for 2 weeks in October, his phone pinged twice at the cell tower again, closest to the King Road house.
So
There's a lot of speculation around this time is specifically when he was like scoping out the place and
like planning it.
like studying the area, and yeah, kind of maybe watching for routines, and oh, whose bedroom is this, like, yeah, scoping out the spot, because that was 2 weeks it was pinging in that same spot, which is really crazy how they can do that, by the way, that they can ping your phone and find your location.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but again it goes back to that digital, footprint, you know. Um
um
did you find anything, cuz I didn't, that indicated like why the four people that he murdered, why he would have been like stalking and planning this on those four?
so I believe yeah, I didn't find anything about, so okay, pretty much what a lot of people and the investigators, what everyone believes is that when he went initially into the house, his plan was only to kill Maddie. That's
Okay.
they think that was his target, Maddie. They don't know. I couldn't find much about why, but I do remember hearing things about she could have rejected him. They also saw him at the so that night, um the girls went to a food truck, and Brian
Mhm.
was at the food truck that they were at.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if he tried to like talk to one of them. I think he's tried to talk to Maddie before, and yeah. I think his target, everyone believes his target was Maddie, and everyone else was basically, unfortunately, just collateral damage.
Wow.
He didn't. They don't think he went in that house to kill 4 people that night.
Wow.
It was just supposed to be the one girl. Um. So on October 19th, Brian also Googled, can sociopaths behave pro-socially? Which I read that pro-socially basically means you're acting like you're empathetic or being nice to someone and helping them. So again, clearly a sign of him trying to like self-diagnose himself, or I don't know.
Right.
Um then over the span of 2 weeks after that, or 13 days after that, that's when he Googled his own name multiple times. Again, this is like about a month now before the murders. Um, so moving on to November. On November 2nd, he went over an improvement plan with the school. So again, he was also a weirdo, and a lot of women students, they complained that he treated them unfairly. So it's believed that Brian basically was the type of guy that, he didn't have any game. He didn't get girls, and he hated guys that did get girls,
Mm.
pretty much. So all of the female students, a lot of them complained about him, and they said that they treated him unfairly, and he was super awkward. So he had a meeting with the school on November 2nd about his behavior. November 7th, his phone pinged again off the King Road house cell tower. This was the 23rd time it pinged off that tower within a 4-month time span.
So
Yeah, he
he
was a
was
frequent
planning
visitor.
something for a while, yeah.
Yeah, with the
Or
first
was
time being
just obsessed to the point that he
right,
would go there and, you
just to
know.
like see what, because I also believe like he could have just been, instead of necessarily like planning, he could have also, because these were college students. These were
Mhm.
college students, and this was a party house. So there was always things apparently going on at that house. There were always people there
Mhm.
and people in and out of there. I'm sure they barely even locked their doors. Like, they were college kids that were having parties all the time. So I think like even if he was trying to drive past to figure out some type of routine, I don't think he would have really gotten much information regarding a routine from these college kids that
Right.
would have helped him.
Right.
I think he could have also just been driving past, like you said, because he was just obsessed, and would, I don't know, wanted to see like if Maddie was there and what was going on, and
Right.
if she
Right.
was there with anybody, and things like that.
Right.
Cuz 23 times in a 4-month time span, that's a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, that is.
Um so November 10th, Brian completely stopped using his debit card. This was 2 days before the murders.
And,
He completely stopped using his debit card.
and what are the
So
theories on why that was?
to basically, I don't know, make himself look less guilty, even though it's making him look more guilty. Because then
Yeah.
on November 11th, um, so the legal documents refer to it as anti-forensic method to clear evidence from his school computer. Or yeah, anti-forensic methods to clear evidence from his school computer is what he
Oh,
did.
wow.
Um, that was a direct quote. So it's almost like he knew he was leaving behind too many tracks, basically. So I think he completely stopped using his debit card, because anywhere he's using his debit card, I think it was one of the stores that he went to like the day of or the day before. he paid in cash. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have him, but hey, Brian, there's security cameras in the store. It doesn't
Right.
matter what you're paying with.
Right.
There's security cameras everywhere, especially stores.
Right.
You could pay with, bartering. You're still on the camera doing that. Pay with your right shoe if you want. Like, they're still going to see you doing that on the camera. So that's kind of silly. But yeah, so days before, he clearly was trying to cover up some of his tracks. Again, stupidly, because
Right.
you can't delete things from your school computer.
Right.
Um, so the night of November 12th, this was a Saturday night. In the evening, um, so Kaylee and Maddie, they went out together in Moscow, Idaho. They were seen on a camera at a local bar, and then Xana and Ethan, they are the couple that they were the last two that he
Mm-hmm.
killed. Um, they were apparently at a party that evening. So Kaylee and Maddie, they left the bar, and that's when they went to that food truck. This was around 1:40 a.m. and then they got a ride home with someone around 1:56 a.m. to their King Road home. Xana and Ethan, they returned from the party to their house around 1:45 a.m. So 10 minutes before Maddie and Kaylee got home. Around 2 a.m., all four students were back home. So, hold on, let me go down to my. So, in the morning of November 13th at 2:56 a.m., Brian turned off his phone. So, he showed up obviously late enough that he's assuming they're home, I'm guessing. But yeah, he turned his phone off at 2:56. I think that's also kind of cool that they can even like tell that information off of your
Sure.
phone.
Sure.
You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like you
Well,
can
yeah. I mean,
tell.
your phone has, it logs what goes on with it and all that. Sure. Yeah. Or
I
they
just
could
think
tell it
that's.
from it dropped, the connection from the cell network at that point.
Oh, true, true. But even like, when you get in an accident and they check your phone, like
Yeah.
they can see what app you opened at what time, and
Right.
I don't know. Hey guys, be smarter. So, the neighbor's security camera caught Brian's car continuously going around the block in the neighborhood past the house. I don't know if you've seen that footage, but it is
Mm-mm.
really crazy. Like he's literally just circling the neighborhood basically. Like he kept going
Was this
past.
before or after?
This was before.
Okay.
I don't know if he was like waiting for the house to look dark, or, making sure that everyone was settled in, or what. But he turned his phone off at almost 3 a.m. and then the neighbor's camera picked him up just circling, which is also funny because it's like if you turned your phone off to not get caught, it's kind
But
of
you're
funny because.
circling the house where people have cameras?
Mm-hmm. Um, so yeah, crazy. Um, so then at 4:06 a.m., he is seen going west, doing a U-turn, and then going back towards the house. 4:07 a.m., the car drives past one last time. Investigators do believe that he parked a little bit down the block, and then he just walked on foot the rest of the way to the house.
Right.
So investigators also believe that. So I don't know. Have you seen the model for the house that they were in?
No.
It's basically a 3-story home,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like the second level is ground level, but the third level, the bottom level, it's not a basement like it looks like, but it like you drive, it's up on a hill.
Right. Right.
So the second level is like the main level of the house,
Got you.
and then you
Yep.
can go
I
up
know
or down
exactly
from
what you
there.
mean. Yep.
So investigators believe that he went through the glass door on the second floor, which is the kitchen. Once he was inside, he went up to Maddie's room, which is only one staircase up. Um, this is also why investigators believe Maddie was always his intended target, because he knew exactly where he was going and he basically went right there,
Hmm.
like straight to her bedroom. Um, so that's also why they think that Kaylee died, because they just assume
She was just there.
she wasn't supposed, like, to
Right.
Brian, she wasn't supposed to
Oh,
be there.
sure. Okay.
She didn't live there. She was just Maddie's friend. So when he went up there and he sees her and Kaylee both sleeping in the bed, what they think is that he got mad, because now that messed up his whole plan. Um, and that's basically when he killed Maddie and then he killed Kaylee. They also had a dog. So the dogs were barking. There was even security camera footage from the neighbor's camera that I heard, and you could just hear the dog barking uncontrollably. Like, it was like a distress bark, like a troubled bark.
Right. Right.
Um, so once he was done with both of those girls, that's when he ended up moving on to Xana, her bedroom was down the steps. It was on the same level, I believe, as the kitchen. Um, so, or maybe it was the level below that. I can't remember now. But so she was awake. So Xana was awake. They have records from her phone that she was on TikTok that morning around that time. She also had ordered DoorDash, and she also had ordered DoorDash that night. And what they think is that either Xana was in the kitchen and then Brian came downstairs. She tried to run to her room and he got her, or she went upstairs,
To
saw her
see what was
friends,
going on.
because she heard like the commotion, the
Right.
dogs, the crying, all that. Went upstairs and saw her friends in the bed with either him in there or whatever, ran downstairs. Either way, he clearly caught up to her before she could get into her room, and she was found pretty much right outside of her room. Um, then he went into her bedroom where her boyfriend was sleeping in the bed. They believe that he was sleeping when it happened, for a couple reasons. One, because he didn't show any signs of like a fight,
Hmm.
and um, there also were fewer stab wounds. I guess like one of the stab wounds hit a major artery, so he ended up bleeding out faster. And then Brian like sat there, and you know the article I read there, the investigators' words were that he like carved was carving his legs or like whatever after he died, like just because he was mad or whatever. Um, and then they could tell that after he did that, he sat on a chair to take a breather. They could tell that he sat on a chair in Xana's room after all of that, just around the mess he made, because there was, I guess, like the blood marks on the chair in the
Right.
bedroom. They could
Right.
tell that he sat there after. And when he went to go leave, he left through the same kitchen sliding door he came in at. And on his way out, they also had a roommate, Dylan, who was there. There were two roommates that were there when it happened who survived.
Hmm.
One of the roommates, Dylan, she opened her door to kind of peek out and see what was going on as he was leaving. And he basically just looked at her with a blank face and like walked right past her and left. Um, they think that by this time it was just because he was exhausted, and his adrenaline let him get through like doing that to four people, but they think that he was too tired. And also the roommate that opened her door, she just kind of opened it and froze once she saw him. So they believe that at that point he just didn't even have any strength left or anything like that to kill her. They also think that maybe if she screamed or something like that, maybe he would have, but
Right. But because she just froze.
frozen, yeah.
Wow.
And then
It,
he left, and yeah. Um let me see. So this also was all done in I think it was 14 minutes.
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So let me see.
Yeah, and one of the things I read as far as the why they think that one of the reasons they think that Madison was the main target
Hmm.
was because the sheath to the knife was found
Hmm.
by her body, and they said that um, when killers in those cases are really
Oh
focused,
yeah.
they tend to like drop things and not think about them.
Hmm.
So that's why one of the reasons they think that it was her. And because the other girl that
Oh
was there
yeah.
didn't live there, so there would have been no reason that she would have been the target.
Yeah, that's what I read too, that because he was so caught off guard, that's why he ended up leaving the knife sheath there. And
Hmm.
then, again, such a dummy, days later is is seen on Amazon trying to buy that same knife sheath. I guess so, like that when they tried to bring it to his attention, he could be like, "What? I'm not missing a knife sheath. What? I have one right
Yeah,
here."
yeah. This
Like,
is
no way
right.
can they check that I just ordered one on Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you must just be so frazzled that you're just really not even thinking logically in those senses. I don't know. I'll never understand that, but
Yeah.
um yeah. So at 4:20 a.m. um yeah, so 4:07 his car drove past one last time, and then he went into the house. So at 4:20 he is seen leaving quickly, um to the extent that on the neighbor's security camera you can see it. You can see his car drive past, and he is scurrying. You can hear his tires screeching on the camera. He's driving real fast past the house. Um,
Probably because he knows that there was somebody else there who saw him, and they're probably gonna call
call
somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. So then at 4:48 a.m., his phone turned back on. Um, and then 6:17 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. By the way, like this is once he's like back on his side of town as well, is when he turned his phone
Okay.
back on. And then at 6:17 a.m., he made a 36-minute phone call to his dad. He made 3 calls total that morning to his dad, with the longest phone call being about an hour long. And then at 9:12 a.m., his phone pinged near the house again.
Oh wow.
So what they think is that at that point he realized, "Oh no, I left my knife sheath there." And they think he was maybe going back to see if he can like somehow retrieve it, but by that time it was too
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
Um and then after that he ended that's when he was also seen taking the trash out to the neighbors. It also came out in, I believe it was court. Once he was actually in court, it came out that, so he was seen taking the trash with gloves. He was wearing gloves when he was like taking the trash out. And what's weird about that is he was saying, "Oh no, I always just wear gloves. I always wear gloves shopping and blah blah blah." Because he was also, when he was seen shopping for things, he was seen wearing like black gloves. And investigators went back and looked at all this footage of shopping security cameras from um like way before the murders, like months and stuff before the murders, and he was not always wearing gloves. So they also caught him in that lie as well. Like it wasn't until after all that happened that he started wearing gloves all the time. I don't know what he thought he was doing with that.
He
Um,
was creating an alibi, I guess. It's not really an alibi, but an excuse. Maybe, I don't know. That is odd.
yeah.
So the
Um,
garbage, though, was it like his clothes and that? Is that what?
it was his clothes, yeah, because they also they believe that he might have also put his stuff maybe in a bag when he was at the house, um, and kind of took care of all of that there. But yeah, it was his clothes, and it was split up into like different bags as well,
Wow.
different bags, different trash, all that stuff, because nobody's gonna find it that way. um, yeah, so that next morning, I also read that I guess a lot of speculation was going on, unfortunately, with the two roommates that were still alive. A lot of people were trying to, I don't know, speculate that they had something going on with it, because why
Sure.
did you two not get killed? And
Right. Right.
they also, I guess, took a while to. They didn't call 911 right away. But I think you also have to remember that these were college kids that were drinking pretty much the entire day before. It's a wonder why, even um Xana, once she, like, when she ran back to her bedroom, or to try to get back to her bedroom, that her, reactions were clearly as sharp as they were, because these kids were drinking the entire day, the entire night, apparently. There was a big football game
Right.
that day as well that they were all attending.
Okay.
Um, so the two roommates that were there, I think they said one of them, I think it might have been Dylan. I can't remember. It was one of the two surviving roommates. They had said when they first looked out and saw Xana laying down, the way her head was positioned and her legs were positioned, they at first, at a glance, had just thought, like, this was in the middle of the night when they saw her. They had thought maybe she was just passed out from drinking.
Oh, so they couldn't see any.
They couldn't see much, like it was a dark house. Um and I don't know if initially, like, they saw Brian walking out and thought, like, who are you? My gosh,
Right.
he's a dangerous person. Like, again, these
Right.
are kids that
Yeah, she's
apparently, like,
probably
people
like,
were in and out of that house all the time.
right. She's probably thinking, oh, it was somebody over drinking and they're leaving. Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
right.
makes sense because I had read that in the timeline too, that it wasn't until like almost noon the next day, or that day, I guess, that
Hmm.
that she or they called the police.
Because they, again, they were all up late that night. She might have saw him, went back to sleep, and didn't wake up until the next day, which is just so awful, especially, with people blaming them like they were. I just can't even imagine, like, you're going through something like, um seeing all of your roommates and your friends in that way. You're finding them like that, and yeah, just really crazy. So that's when also their families had been called that next day. I believe, I can't remember whose brother showed up, and then the parents ended up showing up as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing with it to me is though, like, you just think about that, right? You think about the mindset of
Yeah,
those people, of the young people, because they're, it's a normal. I mean, you've done it with friends. We've done it where you go out and you have a good time in the evening, and you go back and you're having, like, your normal night, and something
yeah.
like that happens. It's just wild.
Yeah. So, he went to trial. Obviously, the evidence was that I think it was that knife sheath really stuck the nail in the coffin for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, who knows what would have happened if he didn't leave that behind. Thankfully he did, but
I
yeah, he
mean, I
ended
think
up.
there was DNA too that probably would have
Well,
come that
yeah,
probably came into play.
for
And
sure. Because he was like kind of sloppy with it, I would say.
right.
And yeah, it is kind of funny, just a little like after tidbit because he's been in jail for a little bit now. I don't even think he's been in jail for a year yet, based on when the
Yeah,
trial
no,
was. I think that
he was sentenced in July of this year. I'm sorry, of
right. Okay.
2025.
Yeah. So he
Yeah.
hasn't even been in there a year yet, and apparently he has already filed so many complaints to the jail about his like quote living situations. But mind you, Brian like about either the other jailmates being mean to him, the food being bad, like just
Yeah.
shut up, bro.
Yeah.
Shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Well,
He
he's like either I don't know, psychopath, sociopath, something, one of those. So,
But they also said that like he in his cell, which I don't even agree with this totally, but I guess he's in a cell by himself for 23 hours a day.
Mhm.
He gets 1 hour where he's like out and about with everybody else, but he doesn't see anybody else for 23 hours a day. So, even his complaints, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
you're not even like
Yeah, you don't even
eating
have
with
you
anybody else.
right, right,
Like, you,
right.
you know what I mean? Like
Maybe
he's
that's
literally
yeah, maybe that's the complaint. I don't know. That
I don't
he's
know.
like he doesn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
so sad.
and apparently he pled guilty because of the threat of the death penalty because he got 4 life sentences plus 10 years for
Right.
robbery, which I mean, I know why they do that, but it always sounds strange to me because it's like so they're, like
They just got to make sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just so that even if he has good behavior and they say, "Okay, well, we're going to reduce your sentence by 1 life sentence," there's still 3 plus 10 years. So he's not getting out. Um
Yeah, right. Good.
but I also feel like, something that terrible. And I know why they did it. They said the families didn't want it to go through a long trial where they were going to have
Yeah,
to hear all this stuff. I totally, totally
for
understand
sure.
that.
For
Um,
sure.
at the same time, I think there are some cases that are so horrible that to let somebody get off and get to go live out the rest of their life, even if it's in a tiny cell, um,
Yeah.
he's being provided meals every day at taxpayer expense. He's got a roof
Mhm.
over his head at taxpayer expense. And there are 4 people who don't get to live. So,
Don't even get to
uh,
graduate college.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess, uh, I guess his ultimate judgment will come later, but yeah,
Yeah.
there's something that just, and I know a lot of people at the time said it felt wrong, to do a plea deal, but I get it.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, definitely rest in peace to those four.
Yeah,
I hope the families are doing okay because that's really tough to go through. I can't even
yeah,
imagine. But
yeah. I hope
yeah,
that him being sentenced at least gave them some peace, some calm.
yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, anyways, that's
All
our
right.
episode today, y'all.
Yeah, and Tuesday we'll be back with one that's not quite so depressing. Have a good
For
week,
sure.
all.
Bye.